Hello everyone, this is my team selection video for Game Week 2. It's a bit later than usual this week. I wanted to wait for the Chelsea game yesterday to see where Nkunku played, how many minutes, etc. he played before giving you my thoughts on that. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Game Week 1 was a bit of a mixed bag. Not too bad, not too great. 59 points is just a couple of points above the average. Barco obviously missing out was annoying. I had Robertson sub on for him. The Munoz assist was good. He's a big differential for me. Newcastle can't really get a judge of them, so Gordon's three-pointer, I'll take it. Isak doesn't feel like a captain blank, given that he got those points after the red card. So again, I don't think that was a bad pick in hindsight. And Kunku is obviously the biggest concern from this slot. And obviously, Barco, we need to find a replacement. But before we talk about my team for next week, I just want to use this video now to talk about the various questions that the community have posed and the hot topics. Let's go through them one by one. Now, first up, we got a lot of questions about triple captain Haaland this week on the pod and on Scout, and I just wanted to discuss with you guys the pros and cons of doing it now. Now, there are obviously many positives to do it, a lot of reasons to go for the triple captaincy on Haaland, because the different thing this season is that there are likely to be much fewer doubles because the FA Cups now have been given their own exclusive weekends. So we might have maybe one or two doubles, and there's no guarantee that the top teams will necessarily be in those. So I think it's more viable than ever now to use your triple captaincy in a single game week. You don't have to use it in a double. We don't even know what the mystery chip is. You might want to use that mystery chip in the double. So that's also that uncertainty you have to factor in. Now, right now, so early in the season, I don't think there's any risk of an early substitution for Haaland. There's no midweek game, nothing they need to conserve energy for. There's also no risk of rotation. They really don't have any other center forward. He's fully fit now. So this might be the best version of Haaland you're getting early on, because once the Champions League kicks in, you never really know with Man City how they're going to rotate. Now, the negative is primarily lack of information. Now, Ipswich numbers were a bit weird. They were a bit more leaky last season at home than they were in the away game. So you have to ask myself, is Ipswich home the best fixture? You might see that Everton at home, Southampton at home, Leicester at home might be better than that. We just don't know yet. We only have 1 week of information to go on, and also the data from the championship, which has to be read with a pinch of salt because teams will naturally adapt and change their tactics once they get promoted. So it's a bit risky and you're playing a bit blind there. You're hoping for Ipswich to be poor. And another thing, you've seen that Man City start the season a bit slow. They don't have a lot of their supporting cast, your Walkers, Rodris, Fodens, etc. In against Chelsea, they didn't look at top gear. Obviously, they easily steamrolled Chelsea, but you really don't feel that confident about City winning by 5-0 or 6-0, which is what you want from a triple captaincy fixture. And also, you are going to have Doku playing, who really doesn't pass to Haaland very much. That doesn't really help. And another aspect you have to keep in mind if your triple captaincy does go wrong, it's very mentally draining now. Till the end of the season, you're going to have to keep thinking that, oh shit, I got that wrong, even though it doesn't really matter that much. Keep in mind, when you factor in the captaincy, you effectively have 12 players. So you get one additional player every week. With the triple captaincy, you're getting 13 players. So effectively, you're getting only one additional player over the entire season. It's not that big a deal, but often I have found that mentally it can have a bit of a negative impact that, oh shit, I blew my triple captaincy chip. I don't have it anymore. So you try to compensate and make up for it in other aspects, which could affect your overall game. And lastly, we just don't know how the doubles will pan out. You could just end up with a City double. You could end up with a Salah double. So there could be better potential to use it in the future. So if you ask me, I would still like to hold on to it, but I'm a more conservative manager. I wouldn't put anyone going off it. I think if you're going to do it, it's a decent week to do it. Back your gut. Now, Nkunku is a big dilemma for those of us who went with him. Against Man City, he was substituted early and he was playing on the left wing, but you have to keep in mind that the setup that most teams use against Man City isn't what they're going to use for all the other teams in the league. So now Chelsea played with Caicedo, Enzo, and Lavia in midfield, which they didn't do last night in the Europa Conference. They played with a midfield of Caicedo and Dewsbury Hall, with Nkunku playing just behind the striker. He played only 58 minutes, which I think is sort of the sweet spot. I think he needs to get some minutes, needs to get some match rhythm. But if he had played over 70, 80 minutes, I would be a bit more worried about him starting against Wolves on the weekend. But I think 58 minutes was good. He did score a goal, but that was a penalty that he took in the absence of Palmer on the pitch. So I think you hold on to Nkunku, at least give him this week, maybe not week 3, depending on how he looks this week, because the fixture block for Chelsea is really good for another few weeks to go. So you don't want to get rid of Nkunku now, then realize that, oh, a few weeks later that, oh shit, I should have held on to him. So give it one more week of data. He's not close to a price drop yet. So worth holding on to. I think he's going to be back to the number 10 role against Wolves, in which case he could be a very good goal scoring asset at just 6.5. There is, of course, a caveat of how Felix now is going to affect his position, because I think even Felix likes to play the number 10 role, but we never know. Felix could be playing on the wing, Felix could even be playing center forward, because Maresca's system doesn't really require a big physical center forward, it requires a more technical one, so Felix could be suited for that. So give Nkunku another week. Now, if you're watching this video and you still own Jarrell Quansah, he's already fallen to 4.4 million. And unless you have money in the bank, that means your replacements now are limited to the guys in the 4.0 million bracket this early on in the season. So from those, I think we saw Musquera starting for Wolves. He's likely like to hold a spot long term, but Wolves fixtures are really, really bad. So the one I would go for if you really need a transfer would be Howard Bellis. Southampton impressed me. Obviously, large parts of the game were against 10 men at Newcastle, but their playing style requires a lot of possession play. I think that might be suited to this level. So, but I think if you can, try to hold on to Konsa for a few more weeks, because I don't think he's going to be resigned to a perma bench after having such a good preseason. Give it a bit more time. Maybe if not game week 2 or 3, once the Champions League starts, you might see Kwanzaa play the league games while you see Konate preferred in the Champions League. So if you held on to him this long, give it another few weeks. Do not panic. If you do have some money in the bank, I think Robinson from Fulham is probably the best replacement. And I'll talk about Anderson's impact on the Fulham defense a bit later. I think it makes them a lot stronger. If not, you can go for Konsa. Obviously, the entry point this week isn't great. He's going to be playing Arsenal. So that's a problem. Similarly with Leaf Davis, I actually like him the most of the 4.5s, but that's after this week. The Man City fixture is done. Anderson, of course, now listed over here as Palace, but he's now gone to Fulham. So I think now at Fulham, if you're looking at a Fulham defender, you probably want to go for Robinson over Anderson. You could go for Gehi now, I think. Now that I don't think the Palace will be selling both their centre backs, but I just prefer the wing backs if you're going for a Palace defender. You can go up a little bit. I like Munoz at 5.0, but hold on to Konsa now. If you've not sold him, give him another week. Now, Anderson has recently moved or is about to move to Fulham from Palace, and it come a bit of a surprise because I think all of us thought that Gehi was the one more likely to move to Newcastle, and it's unlikely now that they'll sell both their starting centre backs in the same window. Now, the images you see to the left over here are the total passes that Anderson made last season, and he was right there in the top 12 of all centre backs. So that really illustrates that he does a lot more than just defensive work. He's a big part of their build-up play, a contributor to their passing and distribution. So they're going to miss a large part of that at Palace, not just his defensive ability. Like even if you look at the right, those are touches for defenders. All of last season, he's again in the top 10, top 12 for all metrics in terms of distribution, involvement. So I think entire Palace's team rhythm will take a knock a little bit, as well as their defense, and is going to improve Fulham a lot. I think he'll probably partner Bassi or Diop over there. And I think Tossin was also a big part of Fulham's creative and build-up play, and I think Anderson will enhance that a lot. I think it makes Fulham a lot better, and while it doesn't make Palace significantly worse, I think it does take the defense down a notch slightly. They'll likely recruit, they'll hold on to Gehi, and I think the main thing is they have a very good midfield still, as long as they stop playing huge there. We have Wharton, Doucouré, and Lerma in midfield, and I just rate Glasner as a manager, but I'm not feeling as good about my double Palace defense right now. I'm just going to tell myself that Munoz is pretty much an attacker and Henderson is just a common pick across most FPL managers, so it's not that big a deal. But I like Fulham defense a lot more, which I think I can get behind the Robinson pick. Now, Eze was quite impressive last game week. He took more shots, that's 7, than any other players. 4 of those were in the box. So there were another lot of questions on our Discord and on Scout asking whether we should downgrade somebody like a Gordon to an Eze. You can bank that 0.5 and get arguably a better FPL asset. Now, my problem with that is I don't really know anything much about how Newcastle have started the season, because of the game against Southampton was largely against 10 men. So you can't really get a read over there. I really think Newcastle are in for a big season now that they don't have Champions League. They have their first choice midfielders fit. So I don't think we should be hasty to get rid of Gordon yet. I think the fixture, obviously, this week you could say is better for Eze at home to West Ham. But then again, next week, Palace travel to Chelsea, while you have Gordon who will be at home to Tottenham, which is a much leakier fixture. So give it a little bit more time. I don't think you need to be making a decision yet. I think you could possibly be looking to get Eze around game week 4 when Palace play Leicester. That's when I think I would be looking to buy him. Now, I just put this in the last minute. I woke up to news. A couple of news sources were reporting that Solanke missed training on Thursday. Now, we don't know the extent of the injury or the nature of it yet. So, this is something to keep in mind for you guys. I'm expecting Ange Postecoglou to give us an update in the evening. He's but pretty transparent. I think we should know, but just in case you guys need to start making plans. I think if he is ruled out of this game, the next few fixtures aren't that great. I will likely replace him with Muniz from Fulham in that event. Sorry about that. My dog just came in. He doesn't really ask permission. He has his own timings. He walks in whenever he needs to. But yeah, if Solanke is out, I like getting rid of Muniz for him. But the problem is, it's a really good fixture on paper. Everton are going to be likely missing Tarkowski. They have Branthwaite out. You have Ashley Young suspended. So if Solanke does play, there's a Hall fixture. So this news we have to keep in mind. We'll be posting further updates on our Discord. You can check it out over there. Now, before I move on to my team and discuss the watch list of players, I wanted to introduce you guys, if you don't already know, to our sleeper PickEm league. Now, PickEm is a simple game where you just have to pick the results of every team over the weekend. You don't have to predict the score lines, just win, draw, or loss. You get a point for each. So we have lots of leagues running for this in our primary league, which is free to play. The top 10 at the end of the season are going to win a PlayStation 5, and the other 8 will win a custom kit. We'll also have a monthly winner who will receive a custom Premier League kit. And if you're subscribed to our Patreon or Discord, the top 3 managers of the month will win a kit. So if you're not on our Patreon or Discord, do get on there soon. Now, this is another feature that I will be updating along as we go. Frankie. So let's have a look here. In terms of goalkeepers, there's nobody really I'm looking at. It's only Martinez. In defense, I do have a few candidates, but most of these guys are premium assets. Porro, Guardiola, and Gabriel. I think Porro after this week wouldn't be really high. Now, this isn't really in terms of ranking. This is just looking at the names I've put on the guys who I want to buy in the future. Obviously, Porro, Guardiola, and Gabriel are in there. Robertson is in 4th, Mitchell, Livramento. Greaves at 4.0 is also interesting. I think he could be the best 4.0 defender. Leif Davis, I mentioned earlier, and Ian Matson. I think Emery wingbacks get a lot of license to attack. If he can nail down the left spot role, is very interesting. In midfield, you have Eze, Salah, ESR, Minte, Palmer, Rogers, Foden, Brereton Diaz, Bumo, and Felix. So entry points are different. For example, I don't really want Mbumo before, I think, game week 6 or 7 when Brentford's fixtures get really good. Similarly, for Minte, I'm looking at it primarily from game week 4 or 5. Just players I want to keep an eye on. I will be adding and deleting names as we go. Amongst forwards is Watkins, Havertz, Muniz, and Armstrong, who are all on my radar. Now, this is how the team is lining up for game week 2. I'll be likely saving a transfer unless there's some last minute injury news. I'll be having Henderson in goal along with Trent, Munoz, and Robinson. I'm hoping for big things from my defense this week. They're all playing at home, all attacking guys. Hopefully get some attacking returns. In midfield, Jota will be my vice captain, Saka, Gordon, and Nkunku. Likely no changes over there. All decent fixtures this week. Up top, Haaland will be my captain alongside Isak and Solanke. If Solanke is indeed ruled out, he'll be making way for Muniz. So again, rolling transfer is very likely something I like to do generally in game week 2. I haven't seen anything conclusive from game week 1 to make me think otherwise, which I think game week 1 was generally a bit underwhelming. No players really caught the eye as must-haves, and a lot of teams looked undercooked in terms of the preparation, sharpness, the players to return. So I think it's really worth giving it some time. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry for some interruptions that occurred. It's quite a busy time in my house in the morning. See you guys after the fantasy deadline. We will be doing a deadline stream also, by the way. I should plug that. So do join us on the deadline stream. We'll be posting the latest team news and any updates to our team selection then as well. Thank you.